What did you think of The Apartment?
It was great.
I feel like this is one of like the iconic New York City films. Welcome to Colin Dave vs. the Machine video edition. Of course, we are doing our review here of The Apartment this week. So if you want to hear our full conversation about that, you can go over to anywhere you get podcasts. Kyle and Dave vs. the Machine. Dave, what did you think of The Apartment?
It was great. I really liked it. I think it had everything I want in a film. It transcends its age. It doesn't necessarily feel like a film from 1960. It does in the sense that, they still type things. There's no computers. Sure. They don't have iPhones or whatever is in fashion in 2022. Maybe Apple's gone. We don't know. But as a human drama, as a story, the acting's great. I actually didn't mind the hack, Jack Lemmon. He was great. Shirley MacLaine is incredible. And the directing, there's a reason why Billy Wilder is considered one of the greats. From everything from little nuances of shooting inside an apartment to some of the wide angle shots, both of the office and in the parks, to creating tones. I mean, it's a beautiful thing to watch. I was enwrapped. As we speak about in the full-length podcast, I didn't even have my little notepad. I just watched a movie, and that's really exciting for me because I actually like to just watch movies, Kyle.
I'm always pulled into this movie the few times I've watched it here before. I feel like this is one of like the iconic New York City films for me. This is one of those things I can understand why people fall in love with that city without ever having visited it. Even though they're talking about some very dark material oftentimes here, I think it does this really great balancing act of being pretty comedic in the first half and then getting pretty dramatic in the second half. Jack Lemmon's great. Shirley MacLaine is just a beautiful performance. Billy Wilder understands how to use the camera effectively. He knows when to linger and when to focus on something. Again, not to throw Two-Lane Blacktop under the bus, but this is not just...
That's something we watched? I forgot.
We did a few weeks ago. It doesn't just linger, for instance, on like James Taylor for X amount of minutes just driving. There's a very much intentionality of like, no, we need to see what her reaction is here, and we can move the camera in and out to actually provide feeling towards these characters. So top marks across the board. Really the only minor nitpick I have now in like a 2021 context, he straight up stalks this woman for like the first 20 minutes, and it's a little awkward and weird.
Off-putting.
But as I have been told, it's not stalking if the other person likes it. So
who told you that? Kyle told himself that.
Well, I have a restraining order now, so I can't say, but...
And the other nuance that's a little difficult, I think, for particularly strong capital PC people is, I mean, this is shot by men in the 1960s, so there's a little bit of that tone. Like there's an office party where all the women get up and dance, perform on the tables. Other than Shirley MacLaine, all the female characters are paper-thin pantomimes of what, willing girls are like. So I know they're set up to cast the bosses, the men, in a negative light, but sometimes you just get this, not an icky feeling, not like watching a really terrible film, but it takes you a little bit aback. What else do we talk about? Shirley MacLaine's Canadian. She's amazing in this. Did not win the Oscar. Sister. It turns out Liz Taylor did. I Googled that.
Oh, is that Butterfield 8? Is that what you won for?
Yeah, you're such a nerd. Why did
Awful. Why did you give... No. Retroactively, you should have given it to Shirley MacLaine.
Just to pick on Kyle a little bit more, Kyle had criticism because the Broadway show that is referenced in this was actually not the correct one of its era.
No. It was correct of its era. Like, it would have been running at that time. But they're like, did you get tickets for The Music Man? The Music Man had been running for 3 years at that point, 3.5 years. Robert Preston wasn't even in it anymore. Who cares?
Man. I've been stuck in a spaceship with this guy for 2 years. You'd think I'd know more about Broadway by now.
We're looking at some of the best movies, quote unquote, of all time over the next few weeks before we jump into the year 1982.
I'm excited because we get what we call a palate cleanser with some of the so-called, we'll see, best movies of all time.
Is your wife actually going to watch any of the movies from 1982?
No,
or is that
1982 is still too old for her, but... But if last year's any indicator, these AFI/Letterboxd 250 movies are going to be great. So I'm excited for the next 2 weeks. And 1982 is like my jam. There's going to be some movies I'm already obsessed with. So stay tuned. Subscribe. Tell us why we're wrong, because it's going to be a good year.
It's all about the engagement. That's what we need. There's no dislike bar anymore, so you can't dislike us.
Oh.
Don't be too mean, because I am a light, delicate flower. I want to talk a little bit more about The Music Man and why it shouldn't have been used in this movie.
Rickshaw Boy, but we won't get into that. Racism?
The whole thing. A little bit of tiny bit of racism in this movie, too.
At least the Asian men in this film were smiling and compliant. So that's good representation.
Just like the women.
All right.
All right.
Let's move on.
Good night, everyone.
Great.
We like the movie.
It was
we
good.
have to be very upfront. We like the movie.
Yeah.
Very much so.
One of the best we've seen in a while.
I guess that's the way it crumbles, cookie-wise.
What are you talking about?
I'd spell it out for you, only I can't spell.